Most people walk right past their biggest breakthrough because they simply didn't see the sign. They are looking for a neon billboard. But destiny usually speaks in whispers. Don't let that be you. Have you ever had that specific, suffocating feeling of being stuck? I'm talking about the 3:00 a.m. stare at the ceiling, where you feel like you are running on a treadmill that's picking up speed, but you haven't moved an inch in years. You look around, and it seems like the rest of the world is rocketing forward. Your friends are getting promoted. People on Instagram are buying houses. Everyone seems to have cracked the code. But you. And you start to wonder if the world is actually moving on without you. But what if I told you that feeling, that heavy, stagnant, frustrating pressure, isn't what you think it is? What if it's not a sign of failure? What if it's not a sign that your engine has stalled? What if that silence is actually the deep breath before the plunge? The quiet before the music really begins? What if the biggest transformation of your life doesn't show up with a bang? What if it doesn't arrive with a lottery win, a viral moment, or a sudden movie-like epiphany where the clouds part? What if the miracle is happening right now, under the surface, in a series of microscopic shifts you are too distracted to notice? These are the unseen signs. They are the subtle tectonic movements that prove you are already becoming a new person. These are the whispers of your future self, calling you forward into the fog. We live in a culture that is absolutely addicted to the highlight reel. We are obsessed with the after photo. We want the dramatic weight loss reveal, the overnight IPO, the radical life makeover in 30 days. We are conditioned to scan our environments for external, shiny proof that we are growing. And when we look in the mirror on a Tuesday morning, and we don't see a completely different face staring back, we panic. We start to believe the lie that nothing is happening. This creates a deep, gnawing frustration in the gut. You feel like you're doing the work. You're reading the Stoic philosophy. You're journaling until your hand cramps. You're drinking the water. You're trying to be mindful. But the external reality looks exactly the same. You feel trapped in the same mental loops, the same emotional ruts, the same apartment, the same life. It feels like you are screaming into a void. And the only echo coming back is your own fear that maybe this is it. Maybe this is just who you are. Maybe you are meant to stay this way forever. That is a lie. That is a story your old self tells you to keep you safe, small, and tucked away in the familiar. The truth is, profound change is almost always an inside job first. It is a silent, invisible evolution. The most incredible transformations happen in the quiet, unglamorous moments of your inner world. They aren't announced with fireworks. They are announced by a change in your pulse, a shift in your gaze, a new way of breathing through a crisis. Real growth doesn't need a microphone. It is the slow, steady work of your soul evolving in the dark. And right now, we are going to tune into that frequency. We are going to give a voice to those quiet shifts. We are going to unpack the unseen signs that prove, without a shadow of a doubt, that you are not stuck. You are in the middle of a powerful, life-altering metamorphosis. These signs are the breadcrumbs leading you back to your true self. The first, and perhaps the most critical sign of your evolution, is the gap. It's the moment you stop reacting and start responding. In the past, think about your anatomy during a trigger. A critical comment from a boss, a passive-aggressive text, a sudden change in plans. What happened? Instantaneously, your chest would tighten. The heat would rise up your neck. The adrenaline would flood your system. You would snap. The angry text would be sent before your brain even processed the words. The defensive wall would shoot up like a reflex. You were a slave to the stimulus. But now, something is different. You feel that initial spark of anger. You feel the familiar pang of hurt. You feel the jolt of panic. But you don't become it. You don't let it hijack your nervous system. You pause. You take a breath. You observe the feeling as if it were an object in the room, separate from you. This is the shift from unconscious reaction to conscious response. It sounds small, but it is everything. Think of your emotions like a violent weather system. You used to be a small wooden boat tossed around in the hurricane, capsizing with every wave. Now you are becoming the lighthouse. You can see the storm. You can feel the wind rattling the glass. You can hear the thunder. But you are not the storm. You are the steady light that watches it pass, anchored deep in the bedrock of your own awareness. This doesn't mean you've become a robot. In fact, you might feel things more deeply than before, but you are no longer controlled by them. That gap, that split second between the trigger and your action, is where your freedom lives. Then there is the second sign, which often feels like boredom, but is actually refinement. Your tolerance for the superficial completely disappears. Do you find yourself getting physically restless during small talk? Conversations about the weather, office gossip, or who is dating who feel draining, almost like your battery is leaking energy. This isn't you becoming arrogant. This isn't you becoming antisocial. This is a sign that your soul is starving for depth. As you evolve, your energy becomes the most precious currency you have. You just don't have the capacity to spend it on transactions that lack meaning. You've spent so much time in the trenches of your own inner work, digging up truths, facing shadows, that surface-level chatter feels like walking backward. Imagine your life used to be a wide, shallow river. It went everywhere, but it had no force. Now, your inner world is becoming a deep, focused channel. The current is stronger. It has a purpose. Not everyone will be able to swim in those depths with you. And for the first time, you realize that is okay. You notice you're drawn to people who talk about their fears, their dreams, the universe, the things that keep them up at night. You would rather have one meaningful coffee date that leaves you vibrating with ideas than go to a dozen loud parties where you feel alone in a crowd. You are no longer interested in the noise. You are listening for the music. This is alignment. And this leads directly to the third sign, which often manifests as a new kind of courage. You set boundaries without the guilt hangover. For so many of us, the word no used to feel like a swear word. It felt like a betrayal. We were addicted to the yes. We said yes to the extra project, yes to the event we dreaded, yes to the friend who only called when they needed something. Every one of those yeses was a small act of violence against ourselves. A quiet but profound sign of your transformation is when no becomes a complete sentence. You start setting boundaries not out of anger, but out of calm self-respect. The guilt that used to crush you is replaced by a sense of integrity. You realize that protecting your energy isn't selfish. It's essential survival. It is the only way you can actually show up for the things that matter. It's like finally building a fence around a beautiful, rare garden you've been tending to for years. In the past, you let anyone trample through the flower beds. Now you realize the value of what is growing there. The fence isn't to punish the world. It's to protect the sacred space where your growth is happening. You hold the key to the gate. You decide who enters. This is a revolution of self-worth. And as you protect your present, you might notice something strange about your history. Sign number 4. You cringe at your past self. But, and this is key, you do it with compassion. Do you ever look back at old Facebook memories, old photos, or recall how you acted in a past relationship and physically wince? That cringe is not a bad thing. That sensation is the measurement of your growth. It is the distance between who you were and who you are. If you looked back at yourself 5 years ago and thought, wow, I was perfect, it would mean you haven't grown an inch. The cringe is proof of evolution. But the upgrade happens when the cringe is followed by kindness. In the past, you might have beaten yourself up. Why was I so stupid? Why did I wear that? Why did I say that? Now you look back with a gentle understanding. You see a younger version of yourself who was just trying to survive, doing the best they could with the tools they had. You are integrating your mistakes into your story, not hiding from them. You are shedding your old skin, like a reptile. It's a necessary part of getting bigger. This leads to the 5th shift, which is where true freedom begins. External validation becomes a bonus, not oxygen. There was probably a time when your self-worth was outsourced. It was in the hands of your boss, your partner, or strangers on the internet. A compliment could make your week. A criticism could shatter your reality. You were building your house on the sand of other people's opinions. The shift happens when you stop needing the world to clap for you. You start building your own foundation. You begin to trust your own gut. Compliments are nice, sure, but they don't define you. Criticism might sting, but it doesn't break you. You are becoming your own source of validation. This is the development of the quiet ego. It's a self-identity that doesn't need to scream to be heard. You stop over-explaining your life choices to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. You stop apologizing for taking up space. You start making choices that feel right in your bones, even if no one else gets it. That is unshakable strength. And because you are stronger, your relationship with pain changes. Sign number 6. Discomfort becomes your compass. We are biologically wired to seek comfort. The comfort zone is the safe zone. But as you transform, you start to realize that the comfort zone is also the kill zone for your dreams. You begin to see discomfort not as a threat, but as data. You realize that the anxiety you feel before a difficult conversation is just the friction of authenticity. The fear you feel before starting a new project is just the sensation of your capabilities stretching. You start to understand that every single thing you want is on the other side of that feeling. So instead of running from the fire, you learn to sit near. You ask, what is this discomfort trying to teach me? When you stop fighting the growing pains, you start actually growing. This growth often requires isolation, which brings us to sign number 7. You embrace your own company. In a world that equates being alone with being a loser, a powerful sign of inner change is when you genuinely start to cherish your solitude. It stops being loneliness and starts being solitude. There is a massive difference. You stop needing to fill every silence with a podcast, music, or a phone call. You start to find that the silence is full of answers. You might find yourself actually looking forward to a Friday night in with a book, or a long walk, where it's just you and your thoughts. You aren't afraid to be alone with your mind anymore, because you've started to build a friendship with yourself. You are becoming an inner home, a place you can always return to. When you can be a good companion to yourself, you are never truly alone. And finally, sign number 8, the ultimate surrender. You let go of what you can't control. The root of so much of our anxiety is the desperate need to grip the steering wheel of the universe. We try to control what people think of us. We try to control the future. We try to rewrite the past. It is exhausting. The evolution happens when you loosen your grip. You realize the only thing you control is your own mindset and your own actions. Everything else, the traffic, the economy, the weather, other people's choices, is just the river. You can either swim upstream until you drown, or you can float. Letting go isn't giving up. It's an act of extreme trust. It's trusting that you have the resilience to handle whatever comes down that river. This quiet acceptance is the hallmark of wisdom. So look at your life right now. Maybe you recognize the way you handled that conflict last week. Maybe you felt that new peace in your empty apartment. These are not small things. These are the seismic shifts of your soul. Personal growth is rarely a lightning strike. It is the slow, quiet process of water smoothing a stone. It is the bamboo seed that sits underground for 5 years, doing invisible work before shooting up 90 feet in 6 weeks. You are not the same person you were a year ago. You are not even the same person you were at the start of this video. The journey isn't about arriving at some perfect, finished destination. The journey is the destination. So if you feel like nothing is happening, look closer. Listen deeper. The biggest changes are happening in the silence. You are not stuck. You are blooming. I want to know, which of these signs resonated with you the most today? Was there one where you thought, that is exactly what I'm feeling? Tell me in the comments. Your story might be the sign someone else needs to see to keep going. If this helped you, hit the like button and subscribe. And remember, the greatest changes often make the least noise.